Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated and then be prepared for yourself, and then we shall begin our webinar on 3 p.m. later. Stay tuned. Greetings from Glodon Company Limited. A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You are in the live webinar of Return on Investment for BIM Technology. My name is Kelvin from Glodon Company Limited, and it's my pleasure to be your host for this webinar. A warm welcome to everyone for joining us today. Before we kickstart today's webinar, please allow me just to remind you to get to the utmost of this webinar. You may first engage with us by using the Q&A panel to send in your questions at any point of the webinar. Chat messages and private messages might not be able to respond on time, so please use the Q&A panel only. You are muted during the webinar to ensure our speaker delivers his speech without any interruption. For those who wish to have an in-depth discussion with us, please feel free to contact us at sca-marketing-alliance-global.glodon.com after this webinar, and we will surely respond to your email. Lastly, there will be a webinar survey form sent to everyone at the end of this session. Please help us to complete the survey form and verify your email address before you leave this webinar, and there will be a webinar certificate to be sent to your email. So, to kickstart today's webinar, let me formally introduce our speaker of today, Mr. Nazirul Farid, the Principal Business Expert of Glodon Company Limited. Nazirul Farid, previously as a Senior Project Executive at various top construction companies. He is also a registered quantity surveyor under a statutory body of Board of Quantity Surveyor Malaysia, BQSM, and a member of Royal Institution of Surveyor Malaysia, RISM. Meanwhile, he has intensively involved throughout the construction phase of various projects such as mixed development project, industrial buildings, and infrastructure such as MRT project. He is now focusing on developing the AEC industry across ASEAN region towards digital environment. Graduated with honor of degree of quantity surveying, then further he studied to Master of Project Management. Currently, he is also doing his PhD, concentrating on the research of infrastructure project and digital construction. So here is the topic of our webinar today. Have anyone familiar with BIM? Will tell you that moving to an intelligent 3D modeling workflow requires an investment, but how do you know if you are getting the right tools to improve your QTO, cost management process, and ensure it worth for the investment? Many leading firms count on innovative BIM construction technologies to help them to be more efficient and to stay ahead of the competition by adopting BIM and 5D BIM digital technologies throughout the building project life cycle. The role of return on investment for BIM technology therefore become mandatory for every construction firm. This webinar will walk you through on various factors that leading firms have considered for investment return on BIM technology, reviewing how does 5D works and how does 5D BIM have added value over the time. Advance your QTO and cost management process with the right tools. One last reminder, please do engage with us by typing your questions in the Q&A panel in any point of the webinar, and our crew will respond to you shortly. Without further ado, shall I pass my time to our speaker of today, Mr. Nas, to kickstart his presentation. Nas, your turn, please. Nas. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. All right. Thank you, Kevin. Okay. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, everyone. So it's really a pleasure to be here and in this session to discuss on this topic. I have to be honest that this is what the business and the industry in general needs, because we need to discuss more on how the business can, reshape towards a structured transformation to make the process more lean and able to drive towards the expected results. So talking about the current trends in general, merely my personal observation, I've seen various industries that businesses are looking to merge. Some cases they like to go for a joint venture, but no matter for small or big size companies, they look to find a way on how they can digitalize the business to make the operation running more efficient and sustainable. So we have seen the structure of business are changing, especially now in pandemic, and we are facing challenges in keeping up with the resources. So a couple of strategies being deployed to adapt with this challenging situation, and market also is getting very competitive at the same time. Okay, I'm dragging on that part. All right, without further ado, I'll start my presentation with topic of the return on investment for BIM technology. And okay, if you talk about back then, okay, if you talk about the construction technology, we talk about having a crane, excavator, all this plant and equipment on site, etc. Now it's a very different deal. We're talking about the new reality and even change the way we do things and even the culture also. So there's an increased acceleration of digitization and technology by 54% in 2020. So as of today, we will discuss on how we profit from BIM investment. And before we do that, we need to ask of what is the new technology to adopt, okay, why we adopt it, and where is the area that we want to improve, when we want to adopt it. So these are among the initial questions we have to ask ourselves, because not every businesses plan and calculate the potential returns and benefit from the technology. So when we talk about BIM adoption, bear in mind that it is a long-term commitment. If you're not seeing it that way, it jeopardizes the continuity and sustainability of the construction business. Before we get to the returns and the benefits, there is a topic that we seldom discuss, which the impacts of not investing. So reports show that the growth in the BIM awareness and the adoption increased from 10% in 2011 to 70% in 2019. So are we in that group? So how many quantity surveyors in Asian countries are still unaware of the benefits? So we divide the impact into three parts. And firstly, the intangible costs. Okay, when we're not investing into BIM, okay, it creates more works but not effective. If you're in the consultancy business, I'm sure there are times that the client is feel dissatisfied with the service we offer to them. Even the employees, they feel that way, and they feel they waste a lot of time on unnecessary things that separate them from working on something that we see more valuable. And in terms of the tangible cost, the impact includes, it gives the direct impact, which includes the poor cost estimation, the issues on the coordination, poor communication, all this converted into overruns in the project. And lastly, the loss of opportunities. Okay, we have to realize about that. Loss of a new business. So instead of maybe managing 4 to 5 projects a year, you could only manage 2 projects in a year. So all this at the cost of not investing into BIM because we're not changing the way we work for the past decades. Okay, when it comes to the BIM adoptions and implementation, we call for action from engineering and the construction leaders to focus on reimagining the new next normal. Okay, the public as well as the private sectors, they have to work together, including academicians and the government agencies. We need a big and structured action to accelerate the transformation and adoptions of the BIM in the industry. We also need to put effort in changing the culture and invest in the skills needed to operate in the next normal. Okay, so the acceleration, rollout, and adoptions of digitization, as well as to invest in the culture and skills needed to operate in the next normal. So these are the 2 key things that we need to consider to take as an action. Okay, I will just have a quick runs on the benefits. Okay, I'm talking about the operational level. Okay, we have to realize that if we talk about the benefits of the BIM itself, it can be on the operational side as well as for the business side. So I'll touch on the operational side first. So if you talk at the benefits in general, I need to emphasize that we cannot see the benefit direct to a form of profit or monetary only. So we have to see it as the overall processes, okay, operation and how it affects in long term. So there's a time when I see there's a project with various issues in regards to the coordination works, which involve reworks on the structures, mechanical and electrical works, and many more. And the amount involved was like $100,000s. And if you look at the coordination works individually or in a small number, it may be something that we don't bother. It does not really give a high impact to the cost. But if you're dealing with a big scale of a project and you're not doing coordination works probably, okay, for example, for integration works between the civil and service contractors, all this will give a serious damage to the project financial, subsequently to the company image. So that is something that we have to realize. That's why if you talk about BIM, there's always like, that's why we can always see like features such as clash and error detections are so popular among the industry practitioners, especially the contractor, because the coordination issues is quite a serious issue. And of course, for us as a leading expert in a digital cost solution, we understand the importance of having a precise quantity take cost and accurate costing. So most of the time, project stakeholders are having dispute about money, about payment, all the things. And there's a saying that prevention is better than cure. So for us, we understand the importance of having a proper quantity reports, documentation, project and cost information that we keep throughout the project lifecycle. And in addition to that, technologies such as BIM around the world have been proven capable to increase the speed productivity by at least 30% compared to traditional working process. I think you can understand that logic. And as I said, the ROI itself, the return on investment, we cannot just see it in a form of profit, but as well as like a social, economic, and the environmental impact. So we will see how we can avoid and mitigate the construction risk, environmental risk, and so on. So this is especially to the public projects and massive mega infrastructure projects that typically covers a wide geographical areas, location, and various stakeholders. So as the industry players, we are responsible to take care of all of this. So with the technology that we have, businesses can operate more efficiently. And we have assisted various of clients too when it comes to the addition of a new source of revenue. So BIM is not just about improving the efficiency or the productivity, but we can see it as a new way on how we can gain a new source of revenue. Okay, just now I mentioned about the operational benefits, and also this might be a little bit less if you talk about it on the business point of view. So when it comes to BIM, we have to see it as a value creator instead of things like robot replaces human and all those things. And when it comes to the business, there is a higher chance of a new business opportunities. So, for instance, okay, in a group of 3 people, maybe can handle 3 to 5 project tenders at one time. But improvements made from the adoptions of BIM can push the number to perhaps to 7 to 8 projects at a time. So automatically, it increases the business opportunities. So studies also suggest that employees, especially the younger ones, they prefer the companies that adopting BIM in the organization because it offers a better working environment. Because if you talk about the traditional working of process, I do understand that it requires a lot of time and we need to work overtime, and for something that is maybe not really a higher I would say higher value task. Okay, and one of the BIM advantages is the capability to empower the client. So this increases their confidence and satisfaction when dealing with the contractors or consultant. I do see that the trend across the Southeast Asia regions that the client, they would like to start their projects and to adopt their projects the BIM technology, and they want the set of themes, be it the consultants or the contractors, are familiar with the implementations of BIM. So I can see that the trend is going up in that direction. And I think for them also, they realized about the benefit of it. Okay, if you talk conventionally, when we discuss something, it is often something that is hard to visualize. Okay, they might not know what's happening behind them. So with BIM implementation, it reduces many gray areas for them, especially on the project progress, talking about the project quality and financial standings. So this way they can make more precise decisions, because it is not, for some big clients, it is not just about a project. Okay, they might have another projects that in their mind that they plan to do in the future. So with BIM, it also promotes a new business culture and processes. So I hope we realize in this from this 4 point of view, okay, from the business, from the people aspects, clients, and as well as the culture. Okay, moving on to the investment areas. Okay, moving on to the investment areas. I think this is the key contents of this session. Okay, there are 4 key areas that we have to consider for the BIM adoptions. Firstly, it is not just about having new applications in. It's not just about what kind of solutions that you bring to the company. Firstly, we need to create standards and universal reference at all levels to promote collaborations and transformation processes. So this part requires collective efforts from leaders of the company to spend their time and effort. If it's necessary, external consultant is needed to give guidance and helps in the early process of implementation. Okay, which for us in Glodon, we do it for free for our customers. We will give a proper guidance to our customers. Okay, the leaders of the company has to see the transformation and the implementation progress of the employees from time to time with very close monitoring and control. And the standardization will demonstrate commitments towards service and product quality to the stakeholders and the customers. I think talking about the standards is very important for some, I think for some countries, particularly in the Southeast Asia regions, as not every country in this region is mandating BIM. So it is important for especially be it the private companies, especially private industry, especially they need to establish the standards, because at the national level, maybe it is a bit lacking in terms of that standards. Okay, so at least at the private level or within the organization, we have to develop that standards. Okay, and secondly is of course the people. If you don't have a specific talent, you need to bring in the new talents with open mindset and relevant skill set. Okay, for existing employees, we need to identify the numbers that involve with certain technology for them to attend the training to improve the relevant skills and knowledge. Okay, I do understand that why I said that we need to identify the numbers. Okay, because I do understand that some companies maybe have a limited resource, so they need to identify the key person first to go out for the training, and perhaps when they comes back, they can actually train the others. Okay, but if you're talking about the people, this part require both ways. So I'm not saying that it's just responsibility of the employer to improve the people, okay, the employees, meaning to say that when your employer say invest in you to attend a training, you have to give a full commitment and focus to it. Okay, you don't spend a day or two on a training, but mix up with your daily work routines. So when you get back to the office, you probably gain 30% of what you're supposed to gain in the training. So you really need to make sure that you focus in the training, right? Then the infrastructure. Okay, the infrastructure. Talking about BIM, if we cannot afford to change, like say all the hardware, all the computers maybe need some upgrades. The computers then I think is fine, because same principle like how we talk about the people just now. Maybe there are certain hardware that maybe for early adoptions can be upgraded. Okay, so you might want to only upgrade a certain hardware, right, at a site. Also for the site control and monitoring, that as well you need to consider, and how you want to set up the infrastructure at the site includes the monitoring station, sensors or devices and so on. As long as it gives you the information that is required. So the hardware and infrastructure also part of it that we have to consider in the early adoptions. And of course, the relevant applications that adds value to the business. You can't be operating a cost consultancy business, but you are getting a design software for your companies, or have a design tools for a department that's supposed to output cost or commercial information of your project or bid asset. So we need to identify what age groups or how the business works, and what are the suitable tools, relevant tools that will improve the overall processes. Okay, so again, for the investment area, standard development, the people, the hardware and infrastructure, and finally the relevant applications. Okay, maybe you have any additional suggestions on the say the early parts of the investment. You can drop in the chat box as well. So I would like to hear from you what else that I perhaps not really emphasizing on. Okay, so let's look of which of the BIM investment areas, okay, is the most challenging for your organization. So just now, okay, I explained about the 4 key areas. So perhaps we would like to know which are the areas that for your organizations that finds it as a challenge, okay, for the early adoption. So we would like to hear more from you. They give me some break as well. Right, keep on voting. Okay, so which of the BIM investment areas is the most challenging for your organization? Whether it is standards development, whether it is the people, or is it the hardware and infrastructure, or is it the software applications? So which are the things that you find it very challenging? Okay. So I do hope that the voting, okay, can keep coming in. Okay, I will wait a little bit more time. Okay, so I will end the polls in 3, 2, 1, and let me share the results. Okay. So talking about the highest, okay, about the most challenging for the organization, apparently looks like the people. So I believe this is involving the trainings and training as well as for maybe a certification, right? So I don't understand because the people, if you talk about people in organization, especially in a big scale of organization, maybe you have a high numbers of people and maybe not all will have that chance to go for a training, for example. And the second one, we have the software applications, about 44%. And thirdly is the standards development. Okay, so I think more than 30%. So I think that's quite pressing as well. And finally, the hardware and infrastructure. So I think hardware infrastructure, yes, it could be less challenging because I think day to day you also using the internet and then as well as the high performance computer. So I think people is something that I mean, for ourselves also, it's good that we hear about this and we also try to find how we can improve this situation. Okay, so thank you for voting on this. Okay, so I'll just continue with my presentation. Okay, this isn't really an economic lecture, but I will explain a little bit on how we can calculate the potential ROI. So this is almost similar if we try to say calculate the ROI of marketing expenditure, you know, because it is something is that we still find it necessary, okay, for the business. So same goes with BIM. So say in so what we have here, okay, on top here we have a projected revenue, we have the cost savings, operation improvement, and the business opportunities and growth. So I think I've explained this just now. So say in 3 years in general, okay, say we want to have we try to estimate the ROI and the benefits. Okay, say in 3 years in general, you expect to see the full results. So talking about the operation improvements here, it could be something that intangibles, but gives a better efficiency to the business. Okay, then at the bottom part here, you probably allow a year. Okay, if just now in on top of it, we calculate the cost for the 3 years, and then at the bottom part, you probably allow a year, which makes 4 years in total as the full results won't be hit while the adoptions of BIM is settling in. Okay, you see, that's how we balance it with the investment that we make, and that is what I mean that at the management level, we have to monitor the implementations of BIM to ensure that it is being used and utilized in a day-to-day operations. Otherwise, we understand, we do know that probably talking about the adoptions of it, you probably have a good things in place. Okay, you have a relevant applications in place. Okay, you send the people in the training, you invest in the hardware and infrastructures, you probably have the standards as well. But if let's say we're not controlling it, or we change the culture of the company, it is still hard for us to see the full results. Okay, so these are the things that from time to time, not just from the financial point of view, but as well as from the management level, they need to realize this. Okay, they need to realize this and make sure that for every every BIM investment is worth to the company, right? It's worth to the business. And one of the most common mistakes in industry is failing to provide a sufficient budget for the design team to achieve. So what is really happening here? And this is because if you talk about design, okay, all this while we talk about BIM, we talk about the clash and the clash detection at the site. Okay, we talk about the visualization aspect. Okay, but we don't really touch on the how BIM can, how the project can improve by using BIM. Okay, if you talk about from the cost perspective, this kind of situations happen because the design was the early priority. Okay, probably that the project owner, they get excited, they implement BIM, but then they get excited over something that is maybe not in a final decision yet. Okay, they get detailed to the design. Then when you work out on the cost, you only realize that it is out of the budget. Okay, because we start from the design, while actually it's supposed to start with the cost. Okay, how much cost that we have, and that from there we will design according to the budget. Okay. Before I continue further, allow me to introduce you to our company, to those who are not maybe familiar with us. Okay, we are Glodon, world top 5 AEC digital company listed in the Shenzhen market. Our solutions cover more than 100 countries, and as a leading digital provider, we invested a lot in R&D. Even in Southeast Asia right now, we focus in enhancing the capability of cost and the contract professional, using from the basic technology like the optical character recognition to cloud and advanced AI technology embedded to our digital solutions. So talking about the past 3 years alone, we actually have invested over USD 50 million. And this is because we want to make sure our customer benefit from our technology. And of course, as you can see here, our motto is to make every project a success. And we're talking about our digital cost solutions. Cubicost offers range of product that cover the whole building elements. Okay, namely the TRB, TAS, TME, and TBQ. TAS and TRB are the quantity takeoff software for architecture, structure, and rebar. Meanwhile, TME serves as a similar function, but focus more on the mechanical and electrical scope of works. And lastly, the TBQ, okay, is a software, is an application that manages the project and cost information, as well as for the estimation purposes. Okay, it also able to create, of course, bill quantities, the report, at the same time, streamlining the tendering processes using a free e-tender platform. So these are the main products that under the 5D BIM digital cost management solution. Okay, and if you are wondering where would you apply if I adopt Cubicost as a BIM applications in the organization, okay. For instance, if you're a developer, okay, if you're a developer, that deals with the model prototypes, right? Model building prototypes every day in the inception phase or even in the feasibility studies. We can generate a cost out of it. Okay, imagine you have maybe in a day you produce 5 numbers of building prototypes. Okay, and we can generate the cost out of it in less than a day. Okay, if you want to know how to engage with us, and not just that, Cubicost also helps you to effectively manage your costs throughout the project lifecycle. So if you talk about the investment that you make, it is not just in the early parts of it. It's not just in the design stage. It's not just in the tendering stage. So for the Cubicost solutions, we cover throughout the project lifecycle. And I'm a QS myself, experienced both working in traditional and in 5D BIM environment. And I must say, you really need to experience Cubicost. If you are at the strategic level, this is the kind of solutions you want your organization to have. And I think that's all it for the company's introduction for those who do not know about us. Okay, so I have another poll here. Okay, why I put it here, because I'm tired of talking, so I need some break, so I launched another poll, right? So I have another poll here. The questions, and I want to know how much that you currently estimate for ROI of BIM implementation in your organization, because I want to know that I want to know how that how you are doing actually, basically in the organization when you have invested in a BIM. Okay, so the first answer we have is very low. Okay, which the ROI is less than 0, and second one we have low, between 1% to 25%, moderate 25 to 50%, and high is 50 to 75%, and very high is more or equal to 75%. So let's see how you are doing so far. Okay, let's see how you are doing so far. We got to the ROI of your BIM. Okay, let the votes comes in. Okay, how much you estimate for ROI of BIM implementation in your organization? So this is a very, very crucial question that is like a reflections or the feedback to ourselves. Okay, because we want to know the current situations. Okay, how is it performing? All right, we have to have a look at ourselves, because it's not just, you know, you just invest at one time and then you never really try to reassess the situation. So we have to see how it actually values in the company. Okay, how it actually improves the business. Okay, so so I will end the votes now. All right. So it seems that the highest one, 37% moderate. So you feel that there's investment in between 25% to 50%. That is in a moderate level. And then I think what's worrying is that 36% is below 25%. Okay, so if let's say if 36% is for me is quite a serious number as well. Okay, if you feel that that is the estimate that you see in terms of your ROI on BIM investment. Okay, if you're looking at below 25%, then I think it is best to sit down again with the leaders of the company to discuss and find out why our things are not in a way it's supposed to. So why are we, you know, why you still cannot prepare the design and the model prior to kickoff of the construction? Why are there there's still an issue with the coordination? Why are the project costs still overrun? Okay, so then from time to time when we reassess these situations, all right, we find out the factors that contributes to this rate. Okay, then we can increase the implementation performance based on the situation. Okay, maybe there's issue in terms of the standard procedures. Okay, maybe there are issues in terms of the roles and the responsibilities. Okay, sometimes that maybe they do not realize that they have to do it that way, or maybe they have to adopt it that way, or maybe use that software in the organization. Okay, maybe in the organization itself, it lacks of the encouragement, okay, of on the usage, and there are many factors, I think. So hopefully maybe you can also share the situation, why, especially those 36%, maybe you can share why is this happening in your organization. And it is important to ensure that the BIM investment is giving you the projected returns and benefits, right? So I end up still talk a lot during the poll session, so I just continue now. Okay, one of the most common mistakes made by the owners is failing to provide a budget, okay, for the design team to achieve. And how Cubicost 5D BIM can maximize the return on investment. Okay. So with Cubicost, most of our customers only be spending on the direct cost of license and the training. So if you can see here, the direct cost of the license and the training. The rest depends on the time and efforts of using it. Okay. Also, with the proper implementation, we can see a gradual improvement during the ramp-up period, and eventually, every dollar you spend will give you direct and indirect benefits of using Cubicost. There are also cases where the BIM adoption has been slow because there is a lack of a clear benchmark to determine return on investment or substantial startup costs. Okay, so we do understand from the financial point of view, the need to spend in the new technology like BIM can be challenging. Okay, it can be challenging for especially from the medium or the small size of companies. And we in Glodon, we understand that challenge, and we do encourage you to contact us so we can offer help. We will assess the situation to see how your company can still adopt our solution with some financial flexibility. And we determine to ensure your company can profit and get high benefits from the investment that you make. And of course, with the help of technology, we transform the business at the operation level. So you can if you talk about just if I talk about the TBQ, you can set a strong data or cost information in organized platform. Okay, and that way all your cost data will be centralized and everyone in the team can benefit from the platform. So sometimes in a situation that you do not realize what are the costs or data that you have within your organizations, and you would try to find out from outside, while it's actually a data or information that already been gathered inside. Okay, so with Cubicost, it's not like any other tools. The operations of the solution is very simple. Okay, so in Cubicost, it's not like it's not a very complex tools. Like I said, I experienced in a traditional working as a QS, and even in a 5D BIM environment, I can assure you using Cubicost is very, very simple. It's very easy. So the operations of the solution, okay, the one that we offer you, we also offer you a free training online and offline. So this way, it gives you a flexibility in terms of learning. And imagine now we don't have to, when we don't have to go to the shop to buy foods like how we did back then. We just wait till it reaches your doorstep. So same with our solution. You don't have to spend much time writing things down on the paper, creating formulas and linkages on your spreadsheets. You can now focus on higher value tasks. Focus more on maybe your pricing strategy, on how you can analyze the cost, and maybe like a value engineering and management, and many more. Also, back in the days, okay, back in the days, we relying the QS to do the costing or any commercial exercise using PDF, but with Cubicost, we streamline the processes should the project require the QS to work on the CAD drawing or BIM model. So I just had a conversation with my friend in Singapore just now that even prior to the tender exercise, the model itself is already been built. So so imagine that if you start to work with the model itself, it's actually faster that way, and we can remove all the repetitive processes. Okay, not just using the 3D model, of course. We can also reuse the information from the PDF, from the Revit or the RFC files. So this way is way faster. And here's some testimonial from our customer, a world-class Asia-based consultancy company, Subhana Jurong. They have been our customer to realize the digitalization of the quantity surveying workflow using the 5D BIM solution, including our e-tender solution. And they found a high amount of time saving when using Cubicost solution. And if you can see here that they basically reduced the challenges that they faced last time as when they operate in the traditional methods. And at the same time, it also empowers the project stakeholders. Okay, and the Cubicost have helped them in gaining better insights into the project for a better decision making. So this is just a quick case studies that we recently gained. So I would just like to share it with you guys, right? And if you always deal with the standards or a format issue of your reports, you can now establish a professional report and cost management procedures using Cubicost. So I have a short story to share where recently a good friend of mine complaining on how the management made a sudden change of a strategy in terms of a profit target. So he has to recalculate everything, okay? Do the inking on the papers all over again, check one by one to see if there's any missing part, okay? Everything runs manually. Then later for the consultant, okay, if we do it in traditionally, of course, the consultant also have to go through a manual process of evaluation. So these are just a bit of it, okay? There are more processes that are challenging and time consuming in cost management if we're doing it in a manual way. So imagine if you already start working with a new tender, this is the distraction that you don't want to get affected so long, okay? When we want to revisit back to the previous projects that we thought we have done, and then suddenly there's a change of the strategy. So by using Cubicost, it gives you that flexibility, okay? You'll be more versatile that way, okay? And also another reports that I read recently, okay, from 2019 to 2020, there's an increase of disputes value by 77% from 31 to 54 million USD. Excuse me. And as a cost or risk professional, we should look more to the solutions that can make us avoid any future discrepancies or any contract disputes that due to the calculation errors. Because all these things are actually a direct cost. Okay, when we don't manage our risk, it's actually it can contribute to the higher cost, or even worse, to the project overrun to the company as well as the project owner. Okay, and there are more other disputes like missing records and documents, payments, and lots more. Okay, because these are really wasting the resources, okay, like time and money, and of course we don't want that you know, something more serious like damage to the reputations of the company. So working this way is definitely I mean, working in this 5D BIM environment is definitely enhance the collaboration and communication process among the stakeholders. Okay, at the same time, it gives the project owner a clear picture of every financial decision being made, right? So the BIM investment is not just it's not just give you a direct profits or returns, but at the same time it can, mitigate or avoid certain risks. I think it's very important, maybe after this session, for us to sit together and understand how we can make your project a success. Okay, we would like to listen more from you. What are the issues that you've been facing? And of course, our team around the world will see how we can resolve it together. Glodon has been a digital partner with more than 300,000 corporate clients and reach more than 10 million end users. So do engage with us, and we can see part by part on how if you talk about your organization challenges. Okay. As a summary, when it comes to BIM, it is not just the return on investment and benefits that we should assess, but the cost of not using BIM is also something that we need to find out. We also need to establish the context and understanding just by the simple questions of how, why, and what. Okay, for every investment, we set the target, plan, and monitor and control the process. Make sure that every BIM investment that you make is worth it. Okay, you engage with the make sure you also engage with the right and reliable partner, because BIM journey is a long journey. I think I mentioned that earlier. And we in Glodon, we are very strong in providing best service to our customers, no matter in a small or a big size organization. So I think that's all from me. And I shall pass this session to my friend Kelvin. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nas, for the wonderful presentation. So I do believe that all our participants is well informed with our speaker and his content about the return on investment on 5D BIM tools. So right now, I believe we are looking at the questions that raised up by our audience. Do you mind to have a look together, Nas? And then we can provide some insights or answer to them. Hey, Nas. Yeah. So for the first questions, which is come from Christine Mabun. Hi, Nas. Thank you for sharing some knowledge this afternoon. My organization has tried to consider the BIM ROI as the investment in people and tools is relatively high. However, as the BIM adoption is a new daily basis, we doubt that overall benefit is hasn't captured yet. Do you have any suggestions in which level of BIM maturity is appropriate and reliable to calculate the BIM ROI? So maybe Nas, you can help to answer your experience or maybe some insight for Christine about this question.
Okay, I think it's a quite a good question. Okay, the BIM adoption is a new in a daily basis, and they have a doubt that the overall benefit hasn't captured yet. So if you talk about how it relates back with the BIM maturity, of course, we need to see it case by case. Perhaps when you work in a project, okay, if we, let's say, I'm not sure the backgrounds of your organizations, but if let's say you are working, let's say, as a contractor, right, and you try to implement BIM in a whole project, so I think that will be quite challenging, as you have to integrate with the subcontractors as well. And if you talk about which level of BIM maturity is appropriate and reliable to calculate the BIM ROI, of course, you have to start calculate it as early as possible. I mean, when you start the project right away, okay, you see how perhaps stage by stage, if you start from the beginning, from the feasibility studies, see how it actually contributes to your outputs, okay, how it actually improves into your outputs during that stage. And why I'm talking about that stage, okay, when we separate stage by stage, okay, it is more easy for us to be focused on the area to improve. Okay, and if you talk about, let's say, at the design stage, at the design stage, automatically you'll be dealing with the designers, all right, the architect, the engineers, okay, how you can integrate your solutions with their solutions. So how you share your communication with them. So in early adoptions, that's why we need to have that standards, all right? What are your how you plan to communicate and collaborate with them? Make sure you refer to say your BIM execution plan. Maybe you have it before the kickoff of the project construction. Okay, before we start to the construction stage, these are the information that has to be cleared out. Because if you talk about BIM implementation, it could be something that the information that you or your client expect to have is very detailed. So you have to brief it in that document to make sure that everyone realize about their roles, okay, realize that this is something that they have to deliver. Okay, so without having the plan, okay, BIM execution plan or even the BIM protocol in the early projects, it can be quite challenging, and things can be very subjective in the future. And in the future also, you will raise a lot of new things, while actually it's supposed to be cleared out during the early part, okay, as early as in inception phase. So that way you need to already have a vision of what you plan to achieve during design stage, during tendering stage, during construction stage, and finally during the final account. Okay, make sure that you clear up with all the project stakeholders what kind of information that you expect to have, and try to assess stage by stage. I think that way it'd be easier for you to find out which are the areas that may be lacking. Okay, maybe there is something that in the construction stage with your current BIM solutions, maybe it cannot deliver something. So again, you can reassess that, and then you can have a discussion with your digital solution provider. Okay, discuss on how you can achieve this in this stage. Okay, this in the construction stage. I want to achieve this in the tendering stage. Okay, so you need to have that conversation.
Wow, that's a very good answer and very useful insight. So can we look at the chat box there, which is a question raised by Prevan, and he asked about which country maximizes the usage of Cubicost in the most in the world. I think it's a quite interesting question.
Sorry, which question?
The question is raised by Prevan, and he asked about is which country maximizes the usage of Cubicost the most in the world.
I see.
Yeah.
I think if we talk about the most in the world, I would say is in China, which we have 75% of market share in China, and we can see that the development in terms of the built environment in China, they are very advanced in terms of the BIM adoptions, as well as for more advanced technology that involve in the operation stage. So if you talk about most in the world, we have a lot of case studies if we base in China. But of course, like I've mentioned during the session just now, for the Southeast Asia regions, we currently very focused in how we deliver the cost solutions through the Cubicost. Okay, if you talk about most, yes, that we have that in China.
Yeah. For another question, which is from one of our participants also. His name is Trongton, and then his question is, how long will it take to train a QS fluently in using Cubicost?
Okay, it's a good question, and for a QS, let's say you're working at the operation level. Okay. It depends on how you train yourself to be fluent in using Cubicost. Because right after, say, you already have Cubicost in the organization, in your company, right? Of course, we will always advise you to use it straight away in a project and try to straight away use it in a real project. right? That way you can learn faster, right? After the training, when you go back to the office, you straight away use it in a project. And we based on our forecast is half a year you'll be able to be very good in using Cubicost, right? And we do advise you that not just have a basic training, but we also, for our side, we offer intermediate training for you to be more fluent and more more capable in handling Cubicost. And when I say that, don't see it as something that is very complex applications, because like I said, Cubicost is very easy to use, and we made it for a QS, so it's very convenient. So straight away use it, and I believe in half a year, right, in 4 or 5 months, you'll be able to be very good at it. Okay.
Yep. It is a very good insight provided by our principal business expert. So, Nas, we saw
Yes.
that there have been a lot of questions that are asked by our participants, but unfortunately, there is a time limitations. So we will move on to the last questions, which is come from Miss Liana, and then she asked about how do we find a right digital solution provider. Maybe these questions you may provide your insights and perhaps some experience to guide our participants how to identify a good digital solution provider.
I see. All right, this is another good questions. And with the market itself and in construction industry itself, we are being exposed with a lot of solutions in the market. Okay, and I do find that even for some people in the strategic level, they find it difficult. All right, even in academic institutions, also they find it maybe difficult of what is the solutions, the best solutions that they want to adopt, right? And I think I mentioned this about having to start a BIM journey is we need to have a vision, and we need to know that it's a long journey, right? And to have a right partner, right? To have a right digital partner, it's not about who sells like say a cheaper option, okay? But as mentioned earlier, you need to know on how they can help in case you need assistance. All right, you need to study their backgrounds and the products by questioning the solutions for your organization. Okay, say for example that you have a particular concerns or issues in the organization, you need to always pick up to them and see how they can solve it. Okay, and then how is the how to say the operations, let's say once you have adopted a certain solutions. Okay, make sure that the digital solution partner will able to assist you, right? To strongly assist you, right? And give you a strong support when you want to adopt BIM, especially day-to-day activity. For us in Glodon, we are quite flexible, right? I said we are very strong in terms of our service support, right? We also have online and offline support, and at the same time, okay, we give flexibility, especially now during the pandemic. The training itself, you can view it as many as you want, right? So that gives you a flexibility. So for us, we always concentrate on your needs, okay? And that's why we invested a lot in our solutions to make sure that every year we will do a massive improvements to our solutions that tackles your needs, tackles your issues in your organization. So I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah. Thanks for your insights and answers for our all participants today. So on behalf of Glodon, we would like to apologize due to the time constraint. We weren't able to answer all the questions in this session, but we will definitely respond to you separately after this webinar via email. So, and allow me to update everyone that participants who have participated this full live webinar will receive a webinar e-certificate in the following weeks. So to check out your registered email inbox For those who have more questions for us or you would like to have an in-depth discussion with us, please do feel free to contact our team. You may not dial our regional office direct contact or visit our website to contact us, and we will arrange our local account managers to contact you soonest. So last but not least, we would like to thank for your participation today, and we hope the content of today's webinar will help you to know more about the return on investment by investing 5D BIM technologies into a company. Once again, thank you for supporting us, and we look forward to engaging with you soonest in our next event. Thank you.
Thank you.
No matter how we start our day, it seems that we are rushing up for the same old things. We suffer with work inefficiency